this morning, and thank you for everybody in the wheelchairs and the walkers and your canes and your feet. And we are so happy that you made it here. And it's like a homecoming in a way, because we are reintroducing our favorite son, Lane Hirabayashi, Professor Lane Hirabayashi. He is as you know, he's from this area, Mill Valley, and he is now the Aratani Endowed Chair of UCLA Asian American Studies. It's a prestigious position, and we're honored to have him here today. And thank you for coming out and being here and really enjoying this rare opportunity to see a little-known film that was produced in the 80s. And Lane will tell you about it. It's a wonderful film, and it takes you back to the Isseis when they were around here talking story. So without further ado, Professor Lane Hirabayashi.
Thank you, Rose. Well, good afternoon, and welcome here to the New People Cinema. And I'd like to start out by thanking Roz, Rachel Inoue, Peter Yamamoto, and my colleagues from NJAHS, the National Japanese American Historical Society. But I'd also like to acknowledge Barbara Takei, who's in the audience today, because I think it was she who originally reminded me that 2013 is the 100th year anniversary of the infamous alien land law, because California was the first state in the Union to pass this essentially anti-Japanese law in 1913. And so that's a momentous date, and I really appreciate Barbara's reminding me of this, because I think it's important now, 100 years later, to look back and remember that law. So Issei, the First Generation, the documentary that you're going to see this afternoon, I've got to confess somewhat guiltily that it showed only 2 times in the San Francisco Bay Area, once on KQED and once on the old Fuji TV, I think channel 26. And a friend of mine knew I was teaching the Japanese American Experience class at San Francisco State. And so my friend dubbed a copy, it was an all Japanese version from Fuji TV in 1984. And somewhat shamelessly, for the last almost 30 years now, I've used this in my class at San Francisco State, and then at CU Boulder, and then at UC Riverside, and now UCLA. And so when I first met Toshi Washizu, the filmmaker, who you'll meet after we see this, I had to apologize and say, gee, I've been using this bootleg copy of your film for 27 years. I hope you'll forgive me. Maybe I can help you get a film deal and pay you back, because it's a great film, and it's a unique film. So it's unique at 4 levels. It really does show some of the oldest Issei folks that Toshi Washizu, the filmmaker, could find in and around Walnut Grove in 1983 was when this was shot. And there's quite a bit of footage in Japanese of these Issei, who range from their 80s to more than 100 years old, talking about their experience in their own words. And having used a lot of documentaries, this is kind of unique. There are snippets here and there, but you'll see probably 75% of the film is Issei talking in Japanese in their own words about their life experience. I think the film is also unique because there's a lot of footage of Issei women, which is very interesting, because you'll see the woman who comes on and says, well, I had an arranged marriage, but to tell you the truth, I didn't really like the guy, right? So they're very frank, I think, and I think Toshi's a very charming gentleman, and I think he was able to get them to speak very candidly about their lives and their experiences, so I think you'll enjoy it. And also, you know, the San Joaquin Delta was an area where Chinese and then Japanese, Filipinos, and some Koreans all did agricultural work. So this is a wonderful segment or selection in terms of the history of the San Joaquin Delta agricultural area there south of Sacramento. And the same in terms of Walnut Grove. I mean, there was a very, very fascinating, and there is a very fascinating still, enclave of Japanese American residents there. And I think this film is unique because it gives us a real insight into that world. So myself, people in the Japanese American, National Japanese American Historical Society, my colleagues here from the Tule Committee, we all believe that we need history as a community. And we need to remember and honor the pioneer Issei. So we're going to do that through the medium of the film. And then I'll have my colleague, Masao, Professor Masao Suzuki, talk about the land laws and their implication here in California. So I think it'll be a wonderful program this afternoon. So we'll start with Issei. I think it's also a remarkable film because the filmmaker, Toshi Washizu, came to us from Japan in the 1970s, enrolled in film studies at San Francisco State University, and in a remarkably short period of time got together with Fuji TV and the Japanese Language Association of America to collaborate in making this documentary, which has been in the vaults hidden for about 35 years, but I think is an even more precious record today because we can enjoy it and we can benefit from it because it brings back, I think, the buried past to those of us who inherited the legacy of the Issei and the Nisei. So I think it's still very valuable for today. So thank you to everyone, including Hiromi from the New People's Theater that's helped so much in staging this afternoon's program. Please sit back and enjoy Issei, the first generation. Thank you.